Hey folks, before we dive in, I just want to encourage you to follow SkyAlert USA so you never miss out on important weather updates like this one and all our future videos. If you find our reports helpful, please support us by subscribing, liking and dropping a comment. It really helps us out and, well, we appreciate every single one of you. SkyAlert USA Weather Report, January 20th, 2026. This is a critical weather update. Breaking. Polar Vortex disruption triggers historic Arctic outbreak across North America. Good morning and welcome to SkyAlert USA. I'm bringing you a critical weather update for January 20th, 2026, as a massive and potentially dangerous weather pattern continues to impact both the United States and Canada. This is not your typical winter cold snap. We're witnessing one of the most significant atmospheric events of the season, driven by a disrupted polar vortex that's sending Arctic air plunging deep into the heart of North America. The big picture. Stratospheric warming event. Let me start by explaining what's happening in the upper atmosphere, because this is truly remarkable from a meteorological standpoint. A stratospheric sudden warming event has occurred in the mid-stratosphere, approximately 20 kilometers above Earth's surface. Temperature anomalies in this layer are running 20 to 30 degrees Celsius above normal over the polar regions. This warming has disrupted the polar vortex, that massive circulation of winds that normally contains Arctic air over the North Pole. When this happens, the polar vortex becomes deformed and displaced. Right now, we're seeing portions of this cold core stretching like tentacles down into the eastern United States and Canada. This isn't just a forecast model projection. This is actively happening as we speak, and the impacts are being felt from the Canadian Arctic all the way to the Gulf Coast. Today's active weather alerts. United States, critical alerts in effect. Winter storm warnings. 10 states affected. As of this morning, winter storm warnings remain in effect across 10 states, affecting millions of Americans. Let me break down the most critical areas. The Buffalo National Weather Service has issued warnings extending through January 21st at 4 p.m. Eastern Time for western and northern New York. Cities including Niagara Falls, Buffalo, Oswego, Watertown and Lowville are facing dangerous conditions. We're looking at snowfall totals of 12 to 24 inches in the hardest hit areas, with some locations downwind of Lake Ontario potentially seeing up to 36 inches by the time this event concludes. The lake effect snow isn't just about totals. It's about how quickly this snow is falling and how dramatically it can reduce visibility. Whiteout conditions are expected, making travel treacherous and potentially life-threatening. Wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour will create blowing and drifting snow, making even cleared roads dangerous to navigate. Areas including Alger County, Luce County, Western Chippewa County and Northern Schoolcraft County are experiencing heavy lake-effect snow, with accumulations of up to 8 inches and wind gusts reaching 35 miles per hour. These conditions will persist until 7 a.m. Eastern Time this morning, creating hazardous travel conditions. Here's where this gets really interesting and concerning. Winter storm warnings have been issued as far south as portions of Georgia, Florida and Alabama. Yes, you heard that right. The Arctic air is penetrating so far south that areas unaccustomed to winter weather are facing snow and ice conditions. This is exceptionally rare for mid-January and speaks to the intensity of this Arctic outbreak. Freeze warnings are currently in effect from southern Georgia, extending all the way down to central Florida. Temperatures are forecast to drop well below freezing, potentially causing damage to sensitive vegetation and creating hazardous conditions for exposed pipes and infrastructure. Some areas of northern Florida could see their coldest temperatures in several years. The combination of Arctic air and strong winds is creating dangerously low wind chill values across a vast area. In northwestern Ontario and the far north of Canada, wind chills are approaching -40 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit. That's the point where the two scales converge. At these temperatures, frostbite can occur on exposed skin in less than 10 minutes. Even in areas much farther south, wind chills are running 20 to 30 degrees below actual air temperatures. This creates a serious health hazard, particularly for anyone working outdoors, homeless populations, and those without adequate heating. Canada is currently under widespread alerts due to the ongoing extreme weather conditions. Ontario, blizzard, and snow squall conditions. Environment Canada has issued orange-level warnings, that's their second highest alert level, for parts of southwestern and central Ontario. Blizzard conditions with poor visibility in snow and blowing snow are expected. These aren't just snow showers, folks. These are intense, rapidly moving bands of heavy snow that can reduce visibility to near zero in just minutes. Toronto and the GTA. The city of Toronto is under a yellow snow squall warning. Snow squalls are expected to shift through the area quickly, with visibility suddenly reduced to near zero at times. While snowfall accumulations may only reach 5 centimeters, the primary concern is the drastically reduced visibility that'll make travel hazardous. This warning was issued at 9:27 p.m. Eastern Time on January 19th, and well, it remains in effect. Arctic cold in northern regions. Northwestern Ontario and the far north are experiencing some of the coldest conditions, with wind chill values near -40 degrees. These are life-threatening conditions that require extreme caution. Anyone venturing outdoors must be properly equipped, and exposure time really must be minimized. Eastern Canada is facing quite a mix of precipitation right now. The Atlantic provinces, including Newfoundland and Labrador, are dealing with a different challenge. Rain and strong winds are expected, with rainfall amounts of 20 to 40 millimeters possible, accompanied by southwesterly wind gusts near 100 kilometers per hour. This rain may be preceded by brief periods of snow, creating potential icing conditions. Temperature extremes are really making headlines, folks. Let's talk about just how cold it's getting and how unusual these temperatures are for this time of year. Over in the eastern two-thirds of the United States, temperatures are forecast to run about 20 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit below normal. We're looking at high temperatures in the teens, as far south as Oklahoma and Arkansas. The Ohio Valley, Pennsylvania, and southern New England will struggle to reach the mid-teens for daytime highs. For major cities, this means New York City, teens for highs, and wind chills in the single digits. Washington, D.C., mid-20s for highs. Detroit, Michigan, wind chills around 7 degrees. Boston, single-digit highs with below zero wind chills expected. And up in northern Michigan, wind chills of 2 degrees or lower. Midwest and Great Plains. The Arctic air is creating a stark temperature divide across the Great Plains. Strong northwesterly winds of 70 to 80 miles per hour are forecast from Alberta and Saskatchewan in Canada, sweeping south across Montana, Wyoming, and the Dakotas to Nebraska, Colorado, and Kansas. These extreme winds aren't just cold. They're creating blowing snow conditions that will reduce visibility and make travel extremely dangerous, particularly for east-west routes. Canada, coast-to-coast impact. Temperature anomalies across Canada show cold air dominating most of the country. Western Canada serves as the source region for this Arctic air, with temperatures well below seasonal norms. This cold air is being channeled southward into the United States through a persistent northerly flow pattern. Average temperatures across much of Canada are running significantly below the seasonal average of around -9 degrees Celsius for January. Some regions are experiencing temperatures 15 to 20 degrees below their normal January values. 3-day forecast. Tuesday, January 20th. Overnight into the morning, we're still seeing that lake effect snow coming downwind of the Great Lakes. Snow squalls are firing up in Ontario and western New York, and honestly, that Arctic air just keeps pouring southward. Wind chills are staying dangerously low across the northern tier. By the afternoon, there's some gradual clearing in a few spots, but let me tell you, the bitter cold is hanging on. High temperatures are running 20 to 30 degrees below normal. Travel's still hazardous in those snowbelt regions, with blowing snow making it tough to see out on the Great Plains. Wednesday, January 21st. The lake effect snow machine is still going strong through Wednesday, and heavy amounts are piling up downwind of Lake Ontario. Another 12 inches of snow is possible in those favoured snowbelt locations. That Arctic air mass is still locked in across the eastern United States. Even though the most intense lake effect might start to let up a bit later Wednesday, temperatures are going to stay well below normal. There's a slight moderation starting up in the southeast, with temperatures inching back toward more seasonal values. High pressure is building over the eastern United States, so conditions will be clear, but honestly still bitterly cold. This is actually the coldest air of the whole event, as that high-pressure centre moves overhead and lets maximum radiational cooling take over overnight. Thursday, January 22nd. Thursday's bringing the first signs of change, but, not necessarily improvement for everyone. A winter storm is forecast to develop and spread precipitation across parts of the southwest, south and southeast. With the Arctic air still sitting in place, that means snow and ice are likely across much of the southern tier, places that rarely see these kinds of conditions. The precipitation is expected to spread east into the Carolinas and mid-Atlantic on Saturday, and it could even last until Sunday. There's a chance this could reach the northeast too, bringing a changeover from the dry Arctic cold to more active winter weather. Meanwhile, temperatures might start to moderate just a bit across the Gulf Coast and eastern seaboard by Thursday, though honestly they'll still be running below normal. Severe weather considerations, folks, are always top of mind during this time of year. Previous severe weather outbreak? Let's talk about that for a moment. Earlier this month, from January 15th to 16th, the southern United States experienced an unusual wintertime severe weather outbreak. The Storm Prediction Center had issued enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5, forecasts for parts of the region with over 20 million residents in the path of severe thunderstorms, tornadoes, and flash flooding. States affected included Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee. While no fatalities were reported, the event caused significant structural damage, power outages affecting thousands, and emergency declarations in parts of Arkansas and Tennessee due to flash flooding. This event really underscores the volatile nature of winter weather patterns when Arctic air masses interact with warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico. The sharp temperature contrasts create powerful jet stream dynamics that can spawn severe weather even during the winter months. Regional impacts and safety considerations are, absolutely critical to keep in mind as we move through the season. Transportation is really taking a hit right now. Air travel is being significantly impacted across the northern tier of the United States and throughout Canada. Lake effect snow is causing delays and cancellations at airports in Buffalo, Rochester, Cleveland, Detroit, and Toronto. Passengers, you'll want to check your flight status before heading out to the airport. Road travel is extremely hazardous across the Great Lakes region, the Northern Plains, and much of Canada. Interstate 90 across New York, Interstate 80 through Pennsylvania and Ohio, and Interstate 94 across Michigan and the upper Midwest are all experiencing dangerous conditions. Several major highways have been temporarily closed due to whiteout conditions. Out west, mountain passes like Donner Pass in California have seen closures because of heavy snow from previous storm systems. Several feet of snow have piled up in the Sierra Nevada, making travel through those mountain regions extremely difficult. Utilities and infrastructure are under a lot of strain right now. The extreme cold is putting tremendous stress on utility systems. Natural gas demand has spiked to winter highs as heating systems work overtime to keep folks comfortable indoors. Electrical grids across the affected regions are handling near-peak loads. Water utilities, they're pretty concerned about frozen pipes, especially in areas where temperatures have dropped far below normal. Residents are being urged to let faucets drip just a bit and to make sure any exposed pipes are well insulated. Agriculture is facing some tough challenges in these conditions. The deep freeze is creating serious concerns, particularly in the southern states where crops and livestock just aren't as adapted to this kind of cold. Citrus growers down in Florida are taking protective measures, but those overnight freezes could still cause significant crop damage. Livestock across the Great Plains and Midwest need extra attention during this extreme cold event. Ranchers are working around the clock to make sure animals have access to unfrozen water and adequate shelter. Looking beyond 3 days, the long-range forecast suggests this cold pattern will persist through much of late January. The disrupted polar vortex configuration, it favors continued cold air transport from Canada into the United States. The Canadian long-range model is showing continued cold air support over Western Canada and the northern and central United States, extending right into February. Now, this doesn't mean we're looking at unrelenting Arctic conditions, but rather a pattern that favors below normal temperatures, with periodic reinforcing shots of cold air. Meteorologists are closely watching for any signs of a pattern change. The high-pressure system over the eastern United States may gradually weaken, allowing temperatures to moderate somewhat by early next week. However, confidence in significant warming is honestly pretty low at this point. Climate context is important here. It's worth noting that while this is a significant Arctic outbreak, such events have occurred throughout recorded weather history. What makes this event notable is the extent and duration of the cold, combined with the clearly identified stratospheric warming event as the driver. These stratospheric sudden warming events, they occur sporadically and can have weather impacts lasting several weeks. Understanding these upper atmospheric processes helps meteorologists provide better long-range forecasts and gives the public more time to prepare for extreme weather events. Safety recommendations are absolutely critical, given the dangerous conditions across such a wide area. Here are some key points to keep in mind. For extreme cold, limit your time outdoors. Frostbite can occur in just minutes. Dress in layers with moisture-wicking base layers and cover all exposed skin. Watch for signs of hypothermia and frostbite. Be sure to check on elderly neighbors and vulnerable populations. Never use generators, grills, or other combustion devices indoors. Ensure you have adequate heating fuel supplies for snow and ice. Avoid travel if possible in areas under winter storm warnings. If you must travel, carry emergency supplies, including blankets, food, water, and a fully charged phone. Clear snow from around heating vents and exhaust pipes. Use caution with snow removal to avoid overexertion. Keep sidewalks and driveways clear to prevent slips and falls. For your property, protect pipes from freezing, clear storm drains of ice and debris, and make sure you have flashlights and batteries in case of power outages. Have a backup heating source if possible, but use it safely. And of course, bring pets indoors. In conclusion, this Arctic outbreak represents a significant and potentially dangerous weather event affecting tens of millions of people across the United States and Canada. The combination of extreme cold, heavy snow in some areas, and strong winds creates a multifaceted hazard that really requires serious attention and preparation. Stay informed through official channels, including the National Weather Service in the United States and Environment and Climate Change Canada. Weather conditions are changing rapidly in some areas, particularly where lake-effect snow bands are moving through. This is not the time to take unnecessary risks. If you don't need to travel in affected areas, please stay home and stay safe. For those who must venture out, be prepared for the worst conditions and hope for the best. Thank you for watching SkyAlert USA. Stay safe, stay warm, and stay informed. We'll continue to monitor this evolving situation and bring you updates as